For those going out, I'm sure it's terrible. It feels like I'm smoking again.
Oof. Did you used to smoke and you quit?
Yeah,
How long has that been?
10 years.
Wow. All right. I think that's a pretty good note to start out on. A little inspiration for all the people that been struggling with that. Yeah, I'm curious a little bit about your background. I mean, I know you've got quite the resume, having worked at Apple, DirecTV, a bunch of other companies. Uh, what can you tell me a little bit about your background? You know, how you grew up, how you got into the business world. Like, what was that transition like?
Uh, yeah, so I yeah, I was born in Thailand in a refugee camp. And my parents are, refugees from the Cambodian um, genocide. So they didn't come with sort of the same kind of education that maybe other Asian immigrants came with. And so they were always entrepreneurial because that was not the only choice. They didn't have any formal education beyond second grade. So they came here in America when I was two, in LA, and they just been hustling. And so for me, that was my motto of how I got into things. And I was always good at math, so I started day trading in high school. Went to Wharton, studied economics, went to finance. Financial crisis happened. Went to Peace Corps. Started a few different things. Did big companies. Went, been to Apple, and then just left last month to start this thing.
Wow. So, throughout that process, I know a lot of people have this dream of working for big companies like Apple, but it seems like such a daunting thing to even have as a goal. Like, how am I going to get to any sort of position in a company like that? What was that process like for you, in terms of not only working for Apple, but if I'm not mistaken, you were in some management positions as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. And I've talked to a lot of folks in the past who've asked me, how do I get into this? How do I get into that? Specifically, how do I get into Wharton? How do I get into Goldman Sachs investment banking? And how do I get into Apple? These are three things I've done. And in the case of all these things, I was not necessarily looking and like putting all my hopes and dreams into getting to these places. Uh, I was flexible and I was always adapting to whatever needed to be to make it happen. So for Apple, um, I got really specialized in a specific skill, marketing analytics and data science, and there was a lot more need in that, and so that was sort of my in into Apple. So I think if anyone becomes specialized in a specific skill, Apple is a functionally organized company, meaning that they hire experts in very niche things. You could be an expert in designing a pull tab for an iPhone box. They have literally a team designing that little tab when you pull the little crisp plastic off that box to unwrap. And you don't have to be like the rocket science to do that, but they specialize in and they focus on all those pull tabs. So if you become like a specialist or expert in your related field, I think Apple is a really great place to land.
Mm. I find that fascinating that they paid that much attention to every little detail like that. But I'm also curious, in terms of, having been in a management position in a company so large, what might be some things that you learned in terms of management that people can then learn from and implement into their companies, even if they're not at that level just yet?
Yeah, I think managing people in corporate America and in general, it's all about building a, a respect and trust. And part of that is showing that you know what you're doing. You should really have an objective and provide people clarity and mission. I think everyone really wants to have purpose. And while your overall leadership should be setting, hey, I want to create the next X product. Um, how do you disseminate that and make it tangible and fungible for your team? So for you, that's about instilling that mission and creating feedback loops so that they can see that they're making progress and that they can be rewarded or they can be course corrected if not. People like to get criticism or feedback. And if you don't give them that, they kind of freak out. They don't know how they're doing. And I've done that before where I've managed large teams and I've been too busy to even like manage people and help them, give them feedback on how they're doing, what the progress is like, are we attaining our goals? So it's really critical to provide a strong feedback loop to your team of what's happening. You should be the conduit for your team to get all the news from the senior executives. And I think that's something that, in something like Apple, that's really critical.
Interesting. And then like on the flip side, what is that relationship like as the management position with the people that are above you in the chain? Meaning, like you said, it's important for you to be that conduit between the people that you're serving below you and the people that you're serving that are above you. How does that relationship work best?
The best way to make your managers happy, and I've been managed by VPs and C levels, is to make them look good. And that's really your primary job, to go into a room with them and they can rely on you to have it. You got this, right? If they should give you a look and say, you got this, and you should be prepared for having it. And even though you might not have the chance and opportunity to step up in meeting or on a project, or you should have it. And that confidence comes from understanding what your boss or your management doesn't know, because he or she won't know everything. And you should probably try to work around the edges of where they have gaps and fill them. A lot of folks, like even as manager, I don't want to handle everything. I would love it if somebody in my team could step up and just can own it, and then I can trust them, and then that trust builds more responsibility, and then I potentially promote them. That's the cycle that I've seen work for myself as well.
Interesting. It makes so much sense. So, out of curiosity, at what point did you're in management, you're doing pretty good, you rose through the ranks, quote unquote. At what point did you have that internal conversation and say, you know what, I have higher aspirations than what I'm doing right now? And what was that internal conversation like where you decided, I'm going to take a step outside of Apple, I'm going to go and start my own thing right now?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Uh, every team I've been in at corporate America has been about building things. And when I get to a level where it's about maintaining things, maintaining a big, P&L or big product line, then I'm less interested. And I want to move on to the next build thing. And even at Apple, I was in 3 teams. I helped build Apple Music from very few subscribers to several tens of millions. And then I helped build some of Siri's most important features. I really enjoyed the concept of building things. And with bigger companies, you have less of that opportunity. And so for me, I've been investing in real estate for a long time, and I can see that as a product. And so I've launched Tozy Capital to basically provide people the opportunity to invest in real estate in a tech-like, app-like manner, um, similar to a Wealthfront or a Robinhood, and get the same financial benefits and tax benefits as all the very wealthy people who invest in real estate.
Mm. I think it's a fascinating subject to focus on, because there's so many people out there that you meet them all the time that they know that real estate is a very worthwhile investment, but they don't know anything about the industry. They don't know the first thing about investing in real estate. So what's the process like when somebody comes to Tozy Capital, getting into working with you guys, and how exactly do you benefit somebody? Is it more for the seasoned investor, or is it for more the person that doesn't really know what to do and you guys help them out?
We have a mix of investors. For those who are seasoned, they ask very specific questions on the return metrics, X number, Y number, Z number, and they know exactly what they're looking for, and they're evaluating lots of opportunities. But I really like working with newer investors. I'm a big fan of helping people out and mentoring and teaching folks. And one of the things that I like to do is not tell them that this is an investment opportunity, but really to help them understand what their opportunities are, and for hopefully them to choose us as one of those opportunities. But if I was talking to someone new about real estate investing, I want to first talk to them about the fact that real estate investing is different than buying real estate. And a lot of people are very familiar with buying real estate, or know someone who's bought real estate, or have parents or bought friends have real estate, or you have a house and you buy another house and you might rent your old house. That's not necessarily real estate investing. That's having assets that you can rent out, make some money on the side. When you invest in real estate, you're investing in financial instruments. You're investing in math and numbers, and there's obviously operations to it. But for somebody joining Tozy Capital to invest, you are essentially investing in a private entity through like, it's similar to a private equity fund, and you're buying fractional shares of an asset. So our latest asset is a 426 unit apartment building. And so we have people coming in as little as $50,000, and then very new, and then they can get an asset that's several tens of millions in size, and still get the diversification benefits of so many doors, and don't have to manage anything, and get roughly 10 to 12% cash and cash back. And that is tax advantage. So for them, it's about understanding what the investment is like, and then investing, and then they get monthly dividends, just like any other fixed income fund. And then when we sell it, they will get a big additional benefit. So it's, for me, that's the way I've always invested. I like to invest for cash flow. That's why I don't like to invest in California anymore, even though I live in California. I invest in the Midwest, where there's a lot of great value. I invest to get double-digit cash flow and to double my money every 5 years. I like singles and doubles. I don't go for home runs. I'm not, I have Tesla and Apple stock to do that.
That's a funny topic. Everyone's been kind of going in hard on Tesla and Apple recently with the stock split. But I'm curious, what pointers would you give to somebody that, like you said, doesn't really know anything about this, who is really your ideal client or partner, even, really, in this case? What should they be looking at when they're considering companies like yourself or others in making that decision who to put their money with?
I really believe in transparency. If the sponsor or manager or operator, whatever you want to call it, however you want to call myself, lots of different names in the industry for it, doesn't tell you how the property's going to make money, isn't going to share with you their underwriting, isn't share with you their secret sauce, because none of the sauce is secret. It's just math. If they're not going to give you the Excel that highlights how the property's going to make money and the assumptions, then you can't test if these assumptions are valid. If maybe you don't know what those assumptions should be, but if people aren't transparent with it, then are they trying to hide something? Are they trying to just use real estate as, hey, I'm gonna make a lot of money for you? Um, so when you look at any sponsors or investors, you should really ask them, are you gonna am I going to learn from it as well? Because you should try to learn from everything you do. And are you going to be transparent with me? So I hopefully there's several of us out there. It's not as many as you might imagine. There's platforms as well, websites that you can look for. Um, and hopefully that you will, when you invest in something like this, it should be a part of your diversification of, of your assets. But you should also hopefully learn from it. And like all of us, our second careers should all about being a professional investor. Hopefully the next career that everyone has is getting the money to make money for them.
I think that's the goal at the end of the day. So, like transitioning to the tech side of things. So you mentioned that the way you guys work is kind of having this platform that people can invest, almost like Robinhood, into your funds or your deals. What was that like for you guys building that tech side of the platform? These days we see a lot of different companies are creating, software as a service is a huge thing. And I think to some extent that's kind of the future, is the companies that are embracing the technology and making it easier for people to work with them. What was that process like for you guys?
I think that was a natural transition for me and for our team. I think of it as a two-sided marketplace. Like any other good two-sided marketplace, you need aggregation and scale, and you need a lot of smarts in between. The two-sided marketplace for us is finding investments, deals, assets to purchase, and then finding investors, capital to place those investments. That two-sided marketplace works really well when you have a lot in scale. And for us, buying real estate and buying assets becomes easier when you buy more. Lenders will see that you own a lot, that you're more credible. Brokers will find that, oh, this guy's doing a lot of deals. Let's send him some of the early stuff. Let's give him some first looks. Investors see that you're making them money. They're going to start trusting you with more money. They're going to tell their friends. You can start marketing. You can start going bigger. From the tech side of things, when I started this thing out, I did it way before leaving Apple. Don't tell my boss that. Hopefully he's not listening. Well, I don't remember who his name is. This is how fast this has gone. And if you ever leave a big tech company or a big company, I don't think you'll ever miss it, especially if you do something you really love. Mm-hmm. But for me, it's all about building a user experience that is as seamless as hailing a ride on Uber. And I did that on Apple Music, and maybe not everyone's a big fan of that, but at the very least, it's about taking real estate investing to the 21st century. And from my experience investing in real estate with other people and other companies, it's a pretty old industry. It's writing $1 million check or $5 million check, and it's very inaccessible. A lot of real estate is owned by the very wealthy. And if you look at very rich family offices with $100 million funds or endowments, they have nearly 25 to 50% of their assets in real estate. While most of us who are W-2 employees or just getting by only I'm less than 1%.
So do you find that people appreciate first off that easier access, and second off, does it allow you guys to make it easier to be transparent between yourself and the people that are investing in your deals because you've embraced that tech?
Yes, that's very true. So the platform is to remove some of the human element of the relationship. And that's how people get somebody to write a $1 million check, to basically have an account manager tell somebody and tell them all about the deal treat them at dinner. I want to get $500 checks, $1,000 checks, and not really checks, can be wire transfers, or it can be like an easy app system, um, and get them to understand the whole process through the app, through the website, and hopefully learn from that and become an investor without having to really interact with too many humans. Initially, we're doing a lot of that education play right now, so we aren't there yet, but through all of our conversations, we're building an AI chat robot to help understand the most commonly asked questions and build a reservoir of good information that people can get to. And a lot of that is really necessary to educate them on this new product for them, which is real estate investing.
Mm, nice. I think the whole concept of how you're going about helping people invest in real estate, it's fresh, it's different. It definitely, I can see the appeal for the end user. But I'm also curious to look a little bit on the back end of your business. When you decided to start Tozy Capital, obviously it starts with you as a human being with the idea, the vision for the company. But at the end of the day, you need to get other people involved to grow it. What was that like for you? How did you go about talking to people, sharing that vision, and getting them on board with the vision that you had for the company?
One of the things I've learned over time is to talk a lot, to talk out loud about your passions. Some people don't do that. And so even when I was at Apple, I talked a lot about my passion, real estate investing. And I talked openly about, the benefits of it. And then I started getting people interested in asking me for stuff. And I really like working with folks that are just passionate about the same thing. And when I was at Apple and also in Silicon Valley, when you talk a lot about something you're passionate about, you create gravity. And so for anyone looking to hire a team or build a team out, you should get somebody who's in line with your passions. For me, our team was built off people who had full-time jobs and was trying to do something passionate on the side. And I think that's a really great team to start with because you don't have the same pressures of making it big right away. Because everyone has a full-time job, but everyone is a hustler. Everyone's trying to like exit the full-time job that is really highly compensating, but they're not as passionate about that right now.
Hmm. So, and then for yourself, I mean, I know one of the greatest holdbacks for many entrepreneurs before they become an entrepreneur is that they're afraid of taking that leap because there's always that possibility of them failing, especially, if you're exiting a secure job and going into that entrepreneurship world, you don't know how it's going to turn out. What was that like for you? Did you have a hard time, making that transition? Did you prepare yourself for it financially? Like, what was that process like when you decided that you're actually going to go for it?
I've been preparing myself to leave corporate America for a long time, financially. So I've been in a privileged position to do so, but it's still a very hard decision to leave so much money on the table. When you're at Apple and you have lots of Apple stocks that hasn't invested yet, meaning that it's coming your way, you see it in your bank account, you see it in your E-Trade account, but if you leave, it goes away.
Mm.
And as anyone following Apple stocks, that's a lot of money. And I had a baby on the way. I still have a baby on the way. So it's a weird thing to leave in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a potential recession, and in the middle of a market run like this. Ultimately, I was just so passionate about what I was doing that I was doing both jobs and at the sacrifice of sleep. And I wasn't doing both as optimally as I would want. But I think I would never have left I would always leave more money on the table. I know myself, in a year from now, I would have left. It would have been even harder to leave.
Mm.
Yeah, I would probably got the next promotion. I would probably got a lot more compensation. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to invest in somebody else's passion, which is what I was potentially going to do. I was going to get my, live vicariously through other younger entrepreneurs. And hopefully now I can be that person for somebody who's made it big. But I think it's always hard to do that. And for me, I did it a little bit piecemeal, but then I did it all at once, and I made a clean break, and I announced it on LinkedIn. I announced it on Facebook, announced it on all the socials that I'm leaving corporate America. And so what that did for me was all the Facebook, all the Google, all the LinkedIn recruitments who on a very fairly frequent basis reached out to me for jobs. They no longer reach out to me for jobs. And I knew that I didn't have that tie back in. So this was like a sink or swim moment. So it was a really great motivator.
Wow. And then once you did that, I mean, first off, congratulations to the baby on the way. But I guess entrepreneurship is kind of like preparing you for that. It's almost like raising a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any lessons that you learned from your roots, starting out as an entrepreneur, because it's so recent, that you're seeing where you things that you maybe didn't expect that you can maybe share with other people, and how you overcame them?
Yeah. So one of the things that I like to do is create really great features and processes. And for me, it was very hard to let go of delegating things that I knew that I needed to delegate, um, especially when it's your baby. If you're in a big company, you might care less that you're delegating something. So for anyone building something and being an entrepreneur, you should definitely understand every facet of your business to the extent that it's valuable for you to know it. But once you've understood it, and you understood that maybe that's not where you should be spending your time, or and maybe that you can hire somebody or have somebody on your team help with that, then you should really try to optimize what's the best use of your time. And for me, I've spent a lot of time in this past year doing things that was probably not the best use of my time. It allowed me to really understand my business very deeply, but I'm 100% sure I could have hired somebody earlier for that.
Mm. That's I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. In conversations with a lot of entrepreneurs, I noticed that many people have this ingrained belief of, like having a partner in what you're doing is not a good idea. Offloading it, the common saying, I'm the best one that can do this, so I'm not going to give it to anyone else. Um, Overcoming that mental block, I think, is very important for people to focus on. Um, Now that you've been doing that for a little while, what would you suggest in terms of, once you know where your strengths are in the business and you know what you can hire out to, how do you say you go about finding the best people to bring into your company? Because I know that's a struggle for a lot of people, finding the right person to bring into your company or to hire.
I think you should definitely try to hire for passion. And it's hard to find people potentially passionate about your specific industry, your specific place. If you're going to conferences, when you have those on in live, that's a great place to meet other people who are passionate about what you're trying to do. If you have friends that are just passionate about entrepreneurship, I think that's another great avenue. A lot of folks have a lot of passion for entrepreneurship as a concept, but don't necessarily have that product yet, and maybe they tried many different things. Those are really great people to work with, because they can wear many hats and they'll just tackle everything that we should be tackling together. So you shouldn't really necessarily hire for the best of that specialty. You're not Apple yet. You're not a big fat company that can hire and compensate that well. You should hire for passion, because that passion and that shared goal of making it big will drive you guys and will allow you to be more passionate, because you will feed off each other.
I love that. And I think at the end of the day, it's the people that are passionate about what they're doing that end up lasting in the entrepreneurship world. So to kind of wrap it up, a question we always like to ask of everybody on the show is, from your perspective, what's the difference between the entrepreneur and a power entrepreneur? Because these days, as you know, everybody and their grandma is an entrepreneur, but there's the power entrepreneurs, people that somehow are separate. They go above and beyond. How do you differentiate?
It's a great question. And I don't know if I'm a power entrepreneur yet, but I've definitely have scaled up very fast. And one of the things that has separated myself from those who I've seen struggle in this space is an abundance mindset. And having an abundance mindset means knowing that this next project, this next client, this next deal, investment, whatever you call it for yourself, isn't the last one. In fact, it's the first of many, and that you should share in the wealth and consider that whatever you're doing is going to help you do the 10th thing much better. Building the first iPhone is going to be very expensive. Building the 1 millionth iPhone is very cheap. And so if you have an abundance mindset and you think that I'm going to just do more, I'm just going to do more of this and that, and I can scale, and everything you're doing is to learn to do that, then you make more optimal decisions. You share more. You aren't afraid of letting go more. You're not afraid of giving ownership more to folks, because you're growing the pie. And I think that's a really great mindset to shift to, especially when you want to make it big.
I love that. That's probably one of the more unique answers that we've gotten. So before we wrap this up, why don't you tell the audience how they could find your company, how they could get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can go to my company, Touzi Capital, Touzi, we're in the shirt here, capital.com. Touzi means to invest. So it's a really cool play on words, to invest capital. And you can, schedule a call with me. I'm always happy to talk real estate, talk about tax strategies as well. It's one of my favorite topics. I actually read the IRS code and all their notices. I'm a big fan of paying as little taxes as possible, as somebody who's paid a lot of taxes in the past. And now as an entrepreneur who considers that a lot. So happy for you to reach out to me. And you can also reach out to me at Eng at touzicapital.com. That's my email address. I'm always happy to chat about real estate.
I love it. If I would have known your passion for taxes, we might have to do a whole separate episode on that alone.
I have seminars and webinars all about that. It's don't pay taxes, guys. Do not pay.
I think that's one of the most overlooked parts of entrepreneurship. People don't realize just how important it is to understand the different financial breaks and laws that you could take advantage of. But this has been great. Eng, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.